bunch of new information about the Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC was just dropped, as well as some leaks and an investor call that gives us an in-depth of more information. We also have some features that have been talked about if they are going to be in the new update or not, and what time and when we can expect the DLC and around what patch. We got a lot of information to go over. What's up, world? It's your back with another video, and today we're checking out all things Cyberpunk, and specifically about the Phantom Liberty DLC, as that has been quite a hot topic for a while lately. But we actually do have a bunch of information that's come out over the past few days, and finally we also have the investor call that just happened as well. And we'll just talk about some of the leaks that happened recently, as they do pertain to a lot of the things that happened here. And so one of them was by Pablo397 on Reddit, where they pointed out that Cyberpunk could receive a subway in future updates. Now, this was translated from a Polish podcast. Now, the translation reads as follows. I would maybe just go back to mass transit, the subway. It didn't quite work in Cyberpunk on release, but there wasn't quite the time and the budget to finish. But in terms of city planning, all those routes are planned, and I could probably pretty much promise that in our next patches it will be available to everyone. So we'll get a subway eventually. Now, this was said by a senior user interface artist at CD Projekt Red. So you could see why people would think there would be some credibility to it. Now, maybe he just outspoke or misspoke, and this did happen 3 months ago, so plans could always change. And we did have a reply from another developer, Marcin Momet. Again, probably pronouncing that wrong, but he said, a word of clarification on this topic, as many people have been tagging me since yesterday. Nothing has changed regarding the metro system in Cyberpunk 2077. We do not plan on adding it in the future. So yeah, something happened in the back scene. Maybe it was never planned, or maybe he misspoke, or maybe there was some issues getting it running. Although there already is that mod, and maybe that's partly the reason why they haven't made it, is because there's already a mod out there that does it probably just as good, if not better, than how they would. So yeah, no metro station or subway station in the DLC or future patches, it seems like. Now, it was kind of cool that Nvidia also released a video about Cyberpunk and some of the insight into their development tools. And it was basically how they achieved photorealistic graphics, and they used Nvidia. So if you have an Nvidia card, prepared for it to be pretty optimized on this latest DLC. But they were able to greatly improve path tracing efficiency with SER in the new upcoming overdrive mode for Cyberpunk. Again, the video looked really good, and the graphics look absolutely incredible, as they do as always. And I don't know if I'm going to be using ray tracing in Cyberpunk ever, since it's so resource hoggy, but it is cool that they have this sort of in-depthness with it, especially for photo mode. I know ray tracing and all that stuff, I always turned it on for photo mode, as it just looked really, really good. The reflections and everything just kind of mirrored so well and so nicely. But moving on, the Cyberpunk Twitter actually tweeted out, exciting news, Chooms. In June, we'll start to share more information about the Phantom Liberty expansion. Stay tuned. So it seems like we're going to get the announcement in June. Does that mean the DLC comes in June or July or even August, maybe, is what a lot of people have been speculating. A few months away, although I would expect the marketing campaign would be very close to the DLC release, although sometimes developers do it quite early. So it seems like we'll be seeing a release between sometime in June and all the way up to maybe September, and even at latest October. Although I doubt they're going to do a marketing campaign that early, but they did for the original game, so you never know. But it does seem like a lot of people agree that they're going to go for the holidays. There's a few comments here saying that that's going to go September, October, which seems super late. But yeah, I mean, they've already delayed a lot of things about this game, especially the DLC stuff, so maybe that is true. I also have another comment here that said I could see it being in July/August release, as the announcement will likely be at E3, since that's in June. I'd like to say that the release could be August 20th, 2023, but it's a Sunday. Who knows, though? Aside from that, it's nice to see that they got a bunch of people working on the Witcher remake. And E3 ended up getting canceled, which was confirmed about a few hours after he made that post. So it seems like the July thing and the June thing could be no longer relevant, although they did say that they were going to show this off in June. Now, there actually was an investor call today, and that gave us quite a bit of info. And I'll just go over the questions very briefly so that we can get through them pretty fast. The first question is, do you plan to release an update similar to patch 1.6 before the expansion release? And they said yes. So it seems like 1.7 is not going to be any ties to DLC, which could more so mean that 1.7 comes around May or June, hence why the DLC patch and all that stuff won't come till a little bit later. And I'll summarize this next question, as it's quite long, but they basically ask if the work is finished and if they're able to guarantee that nothing will change by the time it releases. and then just asking if the quality is going to be better than the original release, which again on PC the quality was just fine. It was only the consoles that had issues. But regardless, they said the work is in the final stage. The expansion is large and complex. We really want it to be polished. We don't want to think about any date other than this year. Again, that's good to hear that they're thinking about this year, and it's good to hear that they're taking their time with it, although it's been over 2 years now and they haven't really updated the game much aside for a few things. They like made it so that you can do a transmog system and stuff like that. But hopefully that seemingly will be an incredibly large expansion. As they said, it's very large and complex, so hopefully it's going to be a very good X-Pack, which is probably going to be the case seeing as I heard that The Witcher 3 did such a good job with those. Now they did mention the announcement of the announcement because we're announcing that something's going to happen in June for another announcement. But they said that that's been the most frequent comment regarding the news. That's from June. We can expect new info about Phantom Liberty. Isn't this prematurely building hype, something the studio should be wary of at the moment? But they did reply with, we feel comfortable starting the expansion's marketing campaign in June. So seemingly seems just fine. They also asked about John Wick in the video game, and they said no, of course not. I mean, Keanu's already in the game. Why do they need John Wick? They asked how many people were working on Phantom Liberty, which is actually a really cool question. And they said that over 330 people have been working on it, and that is calculated at the end of February, which is actually a really high number for a game development on an expansion. So this could definitely be a really big and nice X-Pack. And they asked about how patches would affect the future of the DLC, and they said that yes, it will absolutely affect it. Both products are based on the same technology, which again is pretty easy and simple question with a simple answer, because yes, of course it's going to affect it. And then they also asked, was there any future planned development for Cyberpunk other than gaming, like series, movies, books, something in that universe? Which I replied, they said, we see great potential for Cyberpunk brand in line with the group's strategy. We want to develop it in other fields in the future. And kind of cool. I mean, they already have the anime, which completely blew up the game again after its initial release. I even had some friends that didn't play the game until the anime came out, and they were like, oh, I love the game now, I want to play it. It's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, at least it helped it pop off. But even the initial launch was absolutely great, especially on PC. If you were on older gen console, I understand why you didn't pick up the game, and maybe even so to this day, because it just plays so much better on the next gen and PCs. And then last up, Cyberpunk actually, speaking of the anime and all that stuff it popping off, they actually had their second best revenue year ever. So the anime actually did turn around this game series quite a bit, and it gave CDPR their second best revenue year. And still, I think the initial launch was absolutely massive in terms for a single player game. So it's nice to hear that the game had an amazing initial launch, but it also had an incredible rebound after a little while and fixes and patches, especially with that anime kind of pushing the marketing for it and people really getting interested in that universe. I haven't really seen the anime, and I'm not too into anime stuff, but I might check it out given that I hear it's pretty good. But that does about cover for today's video, and we went over pretty much everything that's been new about Cyberpunk and all the new recent information. And if you enjoyed today's video, I'd like a like and subscribe, and until the next one, deuces.